The target audience that I have assigned for my film is males in their late teens. I chose this audience because I felt they were most likely to enjoy a dark drama film and be old enough to enjoy some of the less noticeable features of my plot. My secondary target audience is probably women of the same age. This is because they're most likely to be the girlfriends of my primary target audience and are therefore most likely to watch the film with each other. The most common device I used for audience research was probably the focus group. Overall, I organised 3 focus groups. This was by far my favourite method for collecting data, because I felt the information was far more detailed, but also the group members took it more seriously than they did with other mediums. For instance, in the questionnaire, some of the answers were rushed, and a few were written as jokes. This didn't come as a huge problem, as I still got some decent information, and the small number of void answers weren't as significant compared to the help I gained through this process. Although the formal forms of the audience research needed to be seen on my blog, I also did a lot of casual research. For instance, I would conduct focus groups without actually filming them. This was useful because I got the information I wanted quickly. This helped me around the obstacle of audience members who didn't want to be filmed. I found audience research fantastically useful, mostly because I got an idea of what my target audience wants to see in a film and got excellent feedback on the direction I should take. For instance, I wanted to end a film with a scene where the young character cuts his own throat in an effort to never become his evil alter ego. The older man would then reveal the same scars to prove that the younger character's efforts were in vain. When presented to my target audience, I discovered they thought it was far too dark and depressing. It would therefore not fit in well with the rest of the film. This was difficult because I had my mind set on a drama film with dark and depressing themes running through. Despite this, I decided to take the advice of my target audience and removed the plot alteration where the young man tries to kill himself. Audience feedback at this point of the production process was crucial, as it was just before I'd started storyboarding. This meant I was still able to adhere to their needs. Another situation where I found audience feedback useful was when deciding on the name of my film. I've always found this the hardest part of the filmmaking process because it requires a summary of the film in a single word or phrase. Because of this, I got a group of the target audience together to discuss the title ideas. This was incredibly casual, and more like a chat in a focus group. Nevertheless, I got the information I wanted. The audience started by deciding on the suggestions that didn't suit the plot. An example of this was split paths, and collectively we were able to narrow the selection down to a single suggestion. This process was interesting because I expected to simply give them a list of titles, and for them to choose the one they liked the most. Instead, they started suggesting new ideas for the title. I got the suggestion of Temptation, which was my favourite for a while. In the end, I decided to take the suggestion of Temptation, which plays on the time travel theme, and came up with The Forthcoming. It wasn't just in the film production that I used audience research. I used a form of audience research for the review production as well. I needed to match all the aspects of a review with the real one from the Empire magazine. To do this effectively, I wanted a second opinion on some of the features of a review. I needed a surprising amount of help with the dimensions for the review. To do this, I printed off a review and used the help of a fellow classmate to match the size of the different sections on the page. It was incredibly useful to get a second opinion because we were able to discuss the various details of the review and improve the design. After my first edit, I decided I needed a target audience to help me decide how to progress the process. I got a focus group together and asked them 3 questions about the film. I asked, are there any improvements in the editing you can suggest? Do you think there needs to be more dialogue in a film? And did you understand the plot? I designed the questions to be vague on purpose so that the focus group could lead the conversation and I could act as guidance to make sure they didn't go off topic too much. This helped massively because I thought I only had to add the music to make the film complete. However, I discovered that I had a few more adjustments to make before the film was perfect. For instance, they thought the scene that the protagonist loses control of his life should be changed slightly, as the cuts between shots was distracting. I took this on board and have changed the scene because of this. If I were to redo the audience research process, I would definitely do more questionnaires. Although they weren't the most useful form of audience research, they did get the widest range of information. In the questionnaires I wrote, I asked the target audience 10 questions covering a range of topics from the genre of my film to the film title. If I were to go back to the pre-production stage of my film, I would write another questionnaire based on my shot list, probably asking the direction they wanted the plot to take. This wasn't a major problem, as I did feel I did a sufficient amount of audience research in one form or another. Because of this, I can be confident that I made a film sculpted around a target audience needs.